agitated when asked obvious questions. Just a day later, we had on Max Boot, who may have, if anything, exceeded him in affected outrage. Watch. Let me ask you a question. If we were to follow the course of action you're suggesting we follow, you're demanding we follow on moral grounds, having, as I said,
what course of action is that,
which is to get rid of the Assad regime because you fear his presence will empower Iran, which you see as a major problem in the world. What would happen then? Who would run that country? I asked Ralph Peters that question last night. He said the Kurds. Do you think the Kurds would run Syria once we depose Bashar al-Assad?
No, I don't. I think it'd be very difficult to do now in any case. I think it should have been done in 2011, 2012, when you would have had a free Syrian army, the moderate Syrians come to the fore.
What do you think we should do now?
What's your advice, Tucker? Should we collaborate with Russia in committing war crimes in Syria? Is that your advice in furthering Iranian hegemony over Syria, a country that is dedicated to death to America? Is that your advice at the moment?
Yeah. I think you're not
choosing... I was very opposed to the Obama policy, and I'm opposed to the Trump policy.
Yeah. Well, you
but you seem to be a cheerleader for allowing the Russians and the Iranians to do whatever they want in Syria.
I'm a cheerleader for Russia and Iran. This is exactly the style of debate that prevents people from taking you seriously.
Am I wrong,
because
Tucker?
Rather than that I'm cheerleading for Iran and Russia, it's a grotesque thing to say. Of course I'm not. But I wouldn't live in either country. I disapprove of their policies.
You don't think that we should make common cause with Russia in Syria, as you've said repeatedly?
Let me ask
you this. That viewpoint?
Let me ask you this, since you're, I think, also a historian. The Congress of the United States in 1941 voted for Lend-Lease, which sent billions and billions of dollars to Joseph Stalin in armaments and food because the Congress of the United States believed Hitler was a greater threat than Stalin. Were they Stalinists when they did that?
You know, Tucker, this is pure sophistry on your part.
It's not sophistry. It's a sincere question. Why don't you answer it?
Will you let me finish? Will you let me answer your question, Tucker? I will be the first to admit that sometimes you have to make common cause with repugnant regimes, and that's what Franklin Delano Roosevelt did with Joseph Stalin when you have common goals.
That's the case I'm making
but we
right
do
now.
not share common goals with Russia. We do not share common goals with Russia because Russia is trying to further the murderous Bashar Assad regime. They are trying to further Iranian hegemony in Syria. That is not our goal. Iran believes in death to Israel. They believe in death to America. We should not be cooperating with them. We should not become complicit in Russian war crimes.
Okay, let me just ask you factual questions. And I'm not sure
Russia, by the way, is also undermining our electoral process, which you don't seem to care about, Tucker.
Okay, the moral preening and the generalizations are tiresome. Let me ask you a specific question. You say,
your lack of moral judgment is tiresome to me. Your lack of moral judgment about what Russia is up to, I find to be offensive.
This is why nobody takes you seriously. But I'm giving you a chance to redeem yourself by answering this question. You say
Tucker,
Iran is a primary threat to us.
You're the one who's not taken seriously.
Tell me how many Americans in the United States have been murdered by terrorists backed by Iran since 9/11.
Oh, so you're taking the pro-Iranian line, essentially. Is that right?
That's what about the fact that hundreds of American troops... You're humiliating yourself, Max. Why don't you answer the question?
Hundreds of American troops have been murdered in Iraq by Iran and its proxies. I also recall that in the 1980s, hundreds of American Marines were murdered in Beirut by Iran. Do you not care about those deaths, Tucker?
Do I not care about those deaths? It's almost impossible to have a conversation with you because your responses are so childish. Of course I care about the deaths. I'm trying to get to the right answer.
Your responses, Tucker, are ridiculous, okay?
I'm trying to get to what the best thing for the United States to do is.
That we don't need to be worried about Iran? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm not arguing. No, slow down. I'm not arguing a pro-Iranian line. I'm not pro-Iran. I'm not pro-Russia. And I'm certainly not arguing that Iran is a good place or doesn't pose a threat to the United States. I'm merely saying,
so what are you arguing, Tucker?
Let me tell you, in a world full of threats, you create a hierarchy of them. You decide which is the worst, and then you go down the list. And my only question to you is,
right up there. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that Russia is a threat to us?
I think the idea that Russia is in the top 5 is absurd, and it makes me wonder about your judgment. But I'm giving you a chance to answer the question, which is,
it's absurd for you to say that Russia is not in the top 5. They're the only country that can destroy us with a nuclear strike.
Okay. I'm beginning to think that your judgment has been clouded by ideology. I don't fully understand where it's coming from, but I'll let our viewers decide.
Tucker, I think your judgment has been clouded by ratings because you feel compelled to be a spokesman for Donald Trump in order to win ratings on the Fox News channel.
That's pretty funny. I actually vehemently disagreed with our airstrikes, in Syria.
I think you're
and the president called for them, and I'm against them. I'm actually arguing principle, but more than anything, I'm arguing for the right to ask honest questions without being denounced as a quisling, but you are incapable of giving a factual answer, and so instead you attack the character of the person who asked the question. And I think our viewers can see that,
Tucker,
and it's beneath contempt.
I did not.
Max,
I did not attack
I gave you a chance, and you did not turn in in any sense, impressive performance. Thanks for joining us anyway.